We just got our first information and looks at the brand new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 made by Infinity Ward. I'm going to go over everything we learned and found out through the information and trailer being released. For starters, the overall game is based in South Korea. It's based on a North Korea invasion that inevitably affects the whole world. You're going to have gameplay spread from trench warfare in South Korea, intense gunfights in the streets of New York, and even fast car chases in the streets of Paris. There's going to be a strong campaign bringing Price back and Ghost, which can be seen in the trailer, as well as DMZ coming back from Modern Warfare 2. Infinity Ward actually invited a bunch of creators to come out and play the game, which is awesome because we're seeing a lot of them release game footage. What makes me feel even better about this new Call of Duty is that they actually seem like they're listening to feedback. A select group of 4 legends actually got sent out to playtest way before any other creator, and played with the devs and gave their feedback after an all-day grind session playing the game. And then when they invited more creators, those same 4 came back and actually said that a lot of what they told the devs got fixed and they improved on things that they gave feedback on, which makes me feel really good that we actually have a voice and they're actually listening to the people who play the game. In terms of movement, they got rid of Omni movement. There's no more wall jumping or wall bounces. There being no jetpacks or wall bouncing, it does seem like mantling is a lot more important. Bradders in his video actually emphasized that mantling is a lot faster and there's a few more mechanics with it. You're actually able to half mantle onto something and almost hang off of it and like shimmy along the edge. As if you jumped up on a box truck, you could shimmy along the edge and around corners. In Lunchtime's video, he also talked about a mantle cancel, where you can go to mantle over an object and then immediately cancel and go backwards if, say, you're taking fire or something. Which again, is just a really cool new movement mechanic that we're not used to, but it's going to be interesting having them take Omni movement out and try a few new things. They did keep it in slide canceling. You can slide into a prone on your back. So aspects of Omni movement are kind of still there, but it is a completely different movement tech. They also made slight tweaks to FOV, so everyone knows FOV goes up to 120, but as you increase your FOV, the players on your screen or the enemies on your screen tend to get a little bit smaller. They tweaked it in a way where I don't really understand it, and I'm sure it's going to be hard to understand without actually playing the game, but the players on your screen stay the same size as your FOV increases. I think is a good thing to point out that they're looking at little tweaks for gameplay ease. Another thing is they changed muzzle smoke. A lot of times in previous games, muzzle smoke coming out of the end of your gun might actually block the iron sights and you won't be able to see the person in front of you. They made it so in a way that the smoke actually engulfs around the player, but if there's a player in your iron sight, you can still see them, which actually is really useful because it allows you to use guns with iron sights and not feel the need to put a sight because of that problem on losing an attachment slot. Another big change is on hip fire, there is no bloom. In every previous COD, when you shoot a gun at the hip, your crosshairs would naturally spread out and the bloom in your gun would add a bit of randomness to your shot. They completely got rid of that. Now hip firing shoots directly where you're aiming every time. If you had a laser on your gun and the laser is on an object, it is going to hit that object every time. That doesn't mean that they take out recoil or basic gun movement from hip firing, but the idea of bloom, of it naturally getting bigger as you shoot, is now gone. I like this because it honestly makes sense of how a gun is supposed to work. It naturally doesn't spray randomly when you're pointing a gun one direction. When first hearing about this, I was a little worried though, thinking that this could definitely be overpowered. But the creators that playtested this multiple times said it didn't affect gameplay much, but it did allow them to hit some crazy shots, especially when it came to things like snipers. And I think people like Scope or people that focus on sniper and that sort of gameplay are going to have a crazy time using this new tech. In terms of the loadout system, it's a lot like previous games with it being in Gunsmith. They did bring back Ninja, and one interesting thing is that every gun in the game has a special attachment called an Apex attachment that basically changes the gun into something completely brand new and gives little abilities to it. Like you may be able to hit somebody and actually see on a tracker on your gun where they are going as a red dot after you have hit them once. This Apex attachment actually doesn't count as one of your attachments, but it does have to be unlocked by maxing out your level of the gun. Another interesting part of loadouts is that each class setup is actually tied to an operator. If you want to have, say, a sniper class and have a ghillie suit on that operator is tied to that class. And if you have an SMG tied to another operator, that's who you would be using in game if you chose that class. Same with score streaks. They are tied to each class that you use specifically. So different score streaks can be used with different guns. If you have a sniper, that will have score streaks in an operator. If you have let's say a PPSH, yes, it's in the game. That'll be tied to a specific score streaks and operator. So it's really interesting how many combinations you can have. Another super interesting thing with loadouts that I don't know how I feel about is almost an AI agent called Gunny. Bradders went over it way more in depth in his video, so if you want to check that out, definitely go do that. But it's essentially a place where you can go in and say, I want to be able to get in long-range gunfights and have a lot of power or something of that nature, where you kind of tell it what you want and how you want it to play, and Gunny kind of gives you a class setup and makes you a setup to where you can take that into game without actually putting attachments or choosing a gun or doing anything. It builds it all for you. Another brand new thing is the prestige system. The prestige system is now in 2 tracks, which is really interesting. The usual track that we all know in every other game before this is that you prestige, you go back to level 1, you lose everything, and you have to re-level up. But with that, you gain rewards, achievements, XP bonuses, whatever you get bonuses for doing that as you level up. On the other track, it is the exact same thing, but you don't get the awards that you would get while resetting. You prestige and you don't lose anything. You just keep moving up the ranks, which I think is good, because a lot of people in the game that didn't care enough to, lose everything and reset would just stay at level 55 and just play the game at prestige 1 when they've really played it for so long. But this allows you to move up, show that you're a higher level, get the higher prestige icons, and show how much you've played and show what level you truly are without actually having to lose all your progress and restart. Which some grinders, I know, like me, I'll definitely be doing the reset and make sure I get all those rewards and everything you get out of that system. But it does give a very viable option and a very nice option to the people who don't really want to go through that grind, but still have played enough to where they should be a higher level than just 55. Moving on to maps, I've heard a lot of really good things coming out of the creators that have played them. Apparently this game is very fast. A lot of the maps are medium to small. There is maps as small as something like a brand new version of a shipment, but most maps and spawns seem to be very similar, close together, and it's going to have a very fast gameplay all throughout this game. The really nice thing with the maps is there are no remakes. We're getting a whole new map set, so we get to explore and figure out brand new maps as soon as we're on day 1. A couple of random features are the campaign is available offline for those of you that matters to. Class setup sharing is back, which I think is just useful and nice to have. Theater mode was promised to be in the game as soon as it comes out, which will be perfect to have on day 1. And there's actually one last tech that they're trying out in the game where it's actually called a grenade roll, where instead of throwing it like you normally would, you can roll it a short distance that's more precise with an underhand toss, which will be really interesting to see in gameplay and how that works. I think especially in a scene like a competitive Call of Duty scene, I think players could use that definitely to reshape gunfights or reshape situations they're in. So I'm excited to see how that new movement works out. I think from what we're looking at, it's looking like great Call of Duty. The devs seem a lot more invested and less stubborn. They seem to be actually listening to what the players and what the creators are asking for, which is a really great sign. Again, come post-launch content, they could literally put out nothing, which all of this would be for nothing, but again, we have to see where they take things. But for right now, I'm feeling pretty good about the new Call of Duty. And for what everyone's saying, the game seems to have a big Modern Warfare 2019 feel to it. That's most of the information I know. Make sure to go check out Lunchtime, Bradders, Attach. They were the guys that were there way ahead of all the other creators, working with the devs and actually trying to give them feedback to see how things are going to play out and how things should be changed and formed for the game. So all their videos are going to be way more informative and way more helpful. I know the big question is, can they fix the cheating problem that Call of Duty is having right now? And is it going to compete with GTA when it inevitably comes out around the same time? So all of this really is up in the air. But as of right now, with what we've seen, I can't complain. I think the devs are doing a good job, and I think Modern Warfare 4 might be amazing. Make sure to like this video if you found it informative, and subscribe to me for more videos like this. I try to keep you guys up to date and bring fun content. So have a good one.